are now arguing for segregation. They want black-only graduations. They want black-only dorms. They want black-only spaces. This is just Jim Crow. Why on earth did we get rid of Jim Crow if only to have Black Americans fighting for the exact same again? What is it that Black America is trying to achieve with such distaste and hatred toward white Americans? I mean, I see it every single day in my life. I mean, you should see the comments. Married to a white man, right? I have biracial children. That should be considered the dream. That should mean, oh my God, we actually got ahead as society when black people get married. Nope. Look at the comments anytime a black person marries a white person and see who it's coming from. It's coming from black people. Oh, married to the white man. Oh, selling out your soul. So you're arguing actually for marriage segregation. You're basically saying that the Supreme Court case, Virginia versus Love, should have never happened. That it should still be illegal for blacks and whites to marry. They don't think that way because they're demented.
So Candace Owens has a thesis. This is her thesis, right? That I guess black people are demented, and the black people are demented if they don't agree with integration. If there are any black people that don't agree with integration, then they're demented. Because she has a white husband and interracial, interracial kids, right? Biracial kids. And that she said the Supreme Court, they fought, to pass a case that, in America that legalized interracial marriages, and that Jim Crow was ended, and that that was the dream. So she said, that was a dream. Maybe it was a nightmare, right? Maybe it was a nightmare. Maybe it was the wrong thing to do, right? So, I mean, like, we can look at this a couple different ways. Now, she says she's a Christian, right? Which is, like I said, everybody don't have the same God, and there's different forms of Christianity, okay? And so, with the form of Christianity that Candace Owens practices is similar to Satanism. It's not Christianity based on the Bible. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. Let's take a look at that. All right, let's take a look at a couple of things based on her thesis that black people, anybody, particularly black people that don't support interracial marriage, are demented. Let's deal with that. And that the dream, interracial marriage is a dream that all black people, are dreaming about. That was the dream, to go out. So she's saying desegregation or the ending of apartheid, in her mind, in her small, colorist mind, right? Because what she did, what a lot of these Negroes do, they're not for integration because they feel because of oppression. They're colorists, so they want to bleach their skin. They say, well, fuck it. The next level is to bleach my kids by getting, I can lighten the race, right? And you find that kind of thing going on. And I mean, what I'm saying is a fact. Everybody knows what goes on. They know in Dominican Republic, Thailand, Africa, places where they have skin bleaching, skin whitening, where the Hispanics talk about don't marry dark-skinned people, even amongst themselves. No, don't marry those Afro-Latinos. Make sure you marry someone who looks more like a Spaniard conquistador. So they practice her. She's from the Caribbean. She's not even American black. She's from the Caribbean. She's an immigrant from the Caribbean. But she's always telling black people in America, because she immigrated here, what to do. So, and they got this, and so most of those Caribbeans, they colorists, right? They practice colorism and skin bleaching and things, and they want to get, they don't care about the dismantling of Jim Crow or apartheid or slavery for the oppression. They cared because they, like she said, I'm living the dream. I married a white man and I had biracial kids so I could whiten the race. I could whiten my line, my lineage. It's like bleaching their skin. You see, because she hates herself. Not because she was oppressed. The point of ending desegregation wasn't so just so black people would have a right to marry white people and have biracial children, bitch. What is wrong with you? It's because people was getting lynched and killed and terrorized. The dream wasn't so you could find a white man in England and marry him and whiten your lineage, right? And lighten up your kids, and bleach it. Next, she's gonna bleach her skin. You're gonna hear about this bitch bleaching her skin or something. That's really what it's about. You see? Because she's a self-hating Negro. You understand? And so it comes from them Caribbeans. They have this colorism thing where they practice in the Cuba and all these different places where they want to whiten the line. You know what I mean? Hey, don't marry none of these dark-skinned people around here. We don't want you bringing any dark-skinned babies in here. That's what that's about. Quiet as a cat, right? Like she needs to be called out on that. Candace Owens, then she said black people are demented. No, colorists like you are fucking demented. You practice colorism because you hate yourself, right? And you hate black people. So what do? Have you ever seen this bitch one time say anything good about black people? One time. I'm just saying fact. I'm just saying, let's keep it a buck. Just all facts. Have you ever seen Candace Owens one time in her life say anything positive about black Americans? A group that she is not a part of. She's from the Caribbean. She's a Caribbean descendant of slaves. People in America are American descendant of slaves. She immigrated here. And then she talks about American descendants of slaves. Have you ever seen her once in your life? If you have, please post the links saying one thing positive about black Americans. Everything is black people are demented. Black people don't want to live the dream of interracial marriage and biracial children. Who the fuck was dreaming about that? Right? That was Martin Luther King. I have a dream. That's what he was dreaming about, bitch. No, you're fucking demented. Not only that, she calls herself a Christian, right? I'm tired of being nice to these people, man. This is ridiculous, man. The fact that she gets away with this shit she gets away with is amazing. She's nothing but a race baiter and a race traitor, and she practices colorism and shit like that. That's it. And it's easily provable. Now, she says she's a Christian. Where in the Bible does it talk about interracial marriage? See, this is where the rubber meets the road. The Bible actually is against interracial marriage. Let's deal with that. And let's deal with Martin Luther King since she brought up that. So Martin Luther King, before he died, he said, I fear I may have integrated my people into a burning house. He told that to his friend, Mr. Harry Belafonte, who I actually met. Very nice guy, right? A great man. And he said that because he felt like him pushing integration wasn't really what he should have done. He should have been more about reparations, not integration. Long story short. Economic gains, not integration. You see Candace Owens? So even, I guess the question would be, who is smarter, Martin Luther King, or who should we listen to, Candace Owens or Martin Luther King? He realized that it was a mistake to integrate with white people. He said eventually they weren't going to honor, this thing wasn't going to work out. And it was going to eventually burn down from the racism and discrimination against blacks, period. Right? It wasn't gonna work out. But Candace Owens not gonna tell you that. She's gonna tell you about how her white husband and her kids that she was dreaming about. She's the only one who was dreaming about that. Martin Luther King wasn't dreaming about, about that. I know I damn sure don't wake up dreaming about white women and trying to impregnate them, get married to them, and impregnate. Who the fuck is she talking about is demented? Who the fuck is she? She's saying, like, if you don't drink, you got to dream about, that was the dream. The dream of black Americans was finding white people to marry and intermarry with and impregnate. Bitch, are you crazy? I mean, these are the ravings. She said black people who don't agree with that are demented. No, you're fucking demented. And nobody maybe had the guts to stand up and tell you. Your buddy Kanye West or whoever won't tell you that. Like, what are you talking about? You don't make sense. You don't have no understanding of history or the Bible. To be calling black people demented because they don't give a shit about looking for white people to marry and impregnate and try to make, be a colorist, and you want to lighten the race, lighten the line up because you scared your kids are too dark and you too dark and you don't like yourself when you look in the mirror. And so you want to bleach your skin and have some interracial children because you're fucking demented, Candace Owens. Black people are not demented. And the civil rights movement wasn't about interracial marriage. Why are you on TV shit saying that? And if black people want to separate from white people, when white people wanted to separate from them, it was fine. But if black people say, you know what, like Martin Luther King, maybe that wasn't a good idea. I think we should separate. Oh, you black people are demented. I got this white man and these mixed kids over here. You're crazy. I mean, that's your fucking choice. It doesn't make somebody demented because they disagree with you. Was Dr. Martin Luther King demented? Was he a crazy, demented person, as you say, Candace Owens? Or did he come to his senses, like you would never do, and say, you know what, integrating with large swaths of people, whether they immigrants from Mexico or white people in America or people from Africa or wherever the fuck they from, integrating with hostile groups will get your ass ethnically cleansed and enslaved and fucked up. That's the truth. Because they don't fucking like you overall. Doesn't matter if a couple of you mix in. And if it goes south, you'll end up like the Rwandan issue. Or you'll end up like Negroes in America. You don't have to go to Rwanda. Or Argentina, where they purge black people. Candace Owens. Candace Owens is a fucking moron, man. I get tired of people trying to put her up like she's some fucking intellectual. She's a fucking lightweight. And the only reason she exists really is because she's the tool of white people. She calls black people demented anytime they disagree. But she would have called, if Dr. Martin Luther King was here, she would have said, Dr. King, you are fucking demented. And you are offending white people. Who gives a fuck if you offend white people? They enslaved you, put you in Jim Crow, as she said, right? Didn't want you within 15 feet of their ass. For hundreds of years, even today. And you got to worry about if they offended, if you decide that you want to not necessarily integrate with them. Now you worried about offending them. But they wasn't worried about offending you, killing you, enslaving you, or nothing. Candace Owens is a fucking bootlicking bedwench, a colorist bedwench. Stand by. Now we're going to let's talk about her. She says she's a Christian. Let's finish this. So I'm gonna try to get through this quick. Candace Owens says she's a Christian. Did you know, right, that the Bible is not for everybody, right? That the Bible is against interracial marriage, and there's a science behind why, right? So let me explain a couple of things real quick. Number one, the Bible is not for everybody, right? Like, so it's not a all-inclusive book. For instance, let me get a lesson. Hinduism, right, can't be applied to everybody. It can only be applied to people of Indian descent. Now, Buddhism, which comes from Hinduism, can be applied to everybody, but they're not religions. People think they are. I'm just using that as an example. Okay? Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, which are cult groups and religion, can be applied to anybody. Race, creed, color, country, whatever. You understand? The Bible, which some of that material was bastardized from and plagiarized from, right? Which those cult groups came out of, is not a one-size-fit-all book. Just like Hinduism can't be applied to all people, neither can the Bible for the stupid people, right? Catch up. You know what I mean? Try to rock with me, all right? Neither can the Bible. When you read the Bible and you study, you understand that. That's where, so then you get a non-biblical take on it where people will say, well, you can be grafted in and Jesus saves everybody. No, that's a religion that was created. That's called Western Christianity. You see, that's where white Jesus came from. Now, this was all predicted in the Bible. Western Christianity, the white Jesus phenomenon, was predicted in the book of Ezra by Ezra. And I'm going to cover something from Ezra. But the reason why, I'm going to say this and I'm going to read these to back up what I'm saying. The reason why this was pushed, the science behind it was because everybody's not human. That's where you get the tenet of the fault, the scriptures of the fallen angels mixing with humans. Everybody was not human. And so you were not supposed to mix with these hybrid races. Now let's run through that. So that's why interracial marriage is outlawed. You see? You weren't supposed to just mix in with any type of hybrid race on earth. Candace Owens, the Christian. She goes, I'm a Christian, Jesus Christ. Jesus hates Candace Owens. Jesus Christ hates Candace Owens. Right? There is not a law in the Bible. Candace Owens is a hypocrite. She's a liar. Everything the Bible tells you not to do, that bitch does it. She's a race traitor, a race baiter, a colorist. She hates a self-hating Negro, a hypocrite, and a liar. Everything the Bible is against, she's for. You know what I mean? She's nothing but a Satanist, just like the rest of them, the fake Christians, playing like a Christian. Let me show you why. So Matthew 13-30. Matthew is, in case you don't know, you're on a slow bus, comes from prophecies, direct quotes from so-called Christ. And he said, now this, what did he talk about here? He said, let them both grow together. He was having a conversation with somebody, and they explained he was given a prophecy of the end times. And he was talking about people mixing together. These evil people mixing in with the other humans. Interracial marriage, all that kind of a thing. Right? And furthermore, integration is a byproduct of colonialism and slavery. So if you're not for it, that just doesn't make you demented. It makes you smart. Do people with some remote group in the Amazon rainforest need to be integrated? Would you go to this tribe in the Amazon, right, with a distinct phenotype and say, hey, listen, y'all don't have no outside people in y'all group. We need to integrate this group with some white people. They would scratch their head like, what the fuck you talking about? We good. We got our own women here from this tribe over here. The tribe across the river. We can go, fucking hook up with them. They'll bring over some of their, we have marriages and like that, intertribal marriages with different groups. We good. We don't need interracial marriages. Interracial marriage is only when you've been conquered and colonized, then you get integrated and you have to be you have to have interracial marriages. Stupid. It's a bad thing. It's another extension of slavery and apartheid. Stupid. But anyway, let me get to this. So he says he was having a conversation in Matthew, right? The man mistakenly called Jesus Christ was having a conversation, and he said there was something going on with people being mixed together, and he said, look, he said that he was telling him that that's not good, that there is evil within this situation. With these people, there's an evil group being mixed in with the humans. Who do you think he was talking about? I'll wait. Who do you think? He said there was an evil group being mixed in with the humans that weren't really human and that you shouldn't mix with them. But it's out of control. There's nothing we can do about it. So the man, he was saying, well, maybe we should try to separate them. And he said, listen, let them both grow together until the time of the harvest. And in that time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. He was explaining the situation in a parable. What was he trying to tell him? He was telling them, first of all, you got to know what a tare is. A tare looks like wheat, but it's not wheat. It's actually a weed. And a educated farmer understands that. And so he's able to separate these tares that looks like wheat, but it's not wheat. And he throws it away because you don't want that in your bread. The wheat, you grind the wheat to make the bread. So the tare looks like it, but it's not. He can identify it and he takes it out. And he burns it because it's trash. Right? And it's non-nutritious. You don't want your people eating that. That's what a tare is. And if you don't know that, then you read Matthew, you have no understanding what the parable means and what the story is, the context of the story is about. You just stupid. You just reciting shit that you don't even know. You see? Now, what was he trying to tell him about that? He said the reapers. Who are the reapers? This is an end times prophecy for right now. He was telling them, fuck it. It's done gone too far now. Let them mix together. But in the end times, I'm going to send soldiers, reapers, right? And the reapers are going to split them up. The armies, when they come, are going to split them up. And he's going to take the tares, the inorganic humans, the hybrids, etc., and he's going to bind them up, and then he's going to burn them and kill them, basically. They're the enemy of God. They're the enemy of the Messiah. They're going to be looked at as the enemy. These hybridized people that are mixed in with humans. Who do you think he's talking about? And how would you identify them is the question. You see? And he said, when this happens, this event happens in the end times, I'm gonna separate them. So the Messiah, the Lord of hosts, is going to implement segregation because of this group that has come in that shouldn't be here. Long story short, let me move on. I don't want to belabor these points. I want to move on. Revelations, right? What is Revelations about? So Revelations is a salvation event. John talks about the salvation event. The same thing as Matthew. So the Bible doesn't contradict itself. The prophecies of Revelation and the prophecy Christ gave in Matthew, right, are the same thing. Don't let them tell you the Bible contradicts itself. It doesn't. Revelation doesn't. It says the same thing. He says, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and the gates 12 angels, soldiers, and the names written thereon, the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. What was he trying to tell? Let me condense this. What was he trying to tell them in this prophecy? John was saying there was a city. There's a so-called UFO the size of a city that's going to come down out of the sky to collect people. This is the salvation event. You don't get saved by saying 3 Hail Marys and somebody throwing some dirty-ass holy water on your face, right, breaking your face out. Salvation is an event that happens, right? And on these on this spaceship that lands, there's 12 gates that are with 12 names of the 12 descendants of the 12 tribes. At those gates will be soldiers that will DNA test you. They will scan you and give you a scan. You pass the scan, meaning your DNA is not too deprecated with this hybrid alien DNA, let's just say that, right? This hybridized DNA, then, and you identify as a particular tribe, they say, oh, okay, you're not from Judah. You don't, your people don't descend from Judah. You descend from this tribe. You go over here to gate B. Because we want to classify the people and we trying to straighten it out, right? As he said in Matthew, I will separate them. So he's separating them. It's real simple. And so he says you will be separated into and put in the ships with your family, into your tribes. It will be organized. You see? And the only people only people that's going to be saved is the non-hybridized people who still have the DNA, I guess at that point, the majority of the DNA from the 12 tribes, from the organic bloodlines of the earth. What are those? We'll find out when that time comes, I guess. We won't have to debate about it. You see? That's what that's talking about. Real simple. I mean, it's not complicated. And it says the same thing as Matthew. I'm going to move on. Let's go to Ezra. So Ezra, probably the most accurate prophet in the Bible. He said, Ezra 10, and Ezra, the priest, stood up and said unto them, ye have transgressed and have taken strange wives to increase the trespass of Israel. Right? What was this prophet and this leader telling people from the 12 tribes? He was telling people he had came back into the town. He had been on, I guess, vacation or whatever, right? Or he'd been out of town, and he was traveling, came back after a long time, and he said, Ezra, who was a priest, prophet, and a rebel, he said to the people, you transgressed. Why are you taking these strange wives? Interracial marriage. He said, you are increasing the sins of Israel. Was he talking about the state of Israel in 1948? When he said, you have to increase the trespass of Israel? No, stupid. He was talking about Israel in Revelations. The same thing he's talking about. The descendants of the 12 tribes, the bloodlines. He said, you have increased the sin of the bloodlines of Israel by bringing in these strange hybrid women. You're breaking the law. It was against the law to bring these hybrid women in and have children by them. You was defiling the DNA and the seed, right? With these wicked hybrid bloodlines. That in the end, in Matthew, what did he say? They were going to be burnt up. He said, I got to find a way to separate them in the end. It's gone too far now. But in the end, I'm going to have to burn them up. I got to separate them and I'm going to burn them. You see, we can't. They're non-human. They're inorganic. They're GMO, right? So you're not supposed to. The Bible is against interracial marriage. Candace Owens, right? Jude 1:7. What does it say? Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, these hybrid races are set forth an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. The Bible doesn't contradict itself. That's saying the same thing as the first 3 verses I just read. Is it not? Or am I lying? It's saying the same thing. That when you do this, you're acting as Sodom and Gomorrah. When you try to do interracial marriage, when that's your focus is interracial marriage, you're just similar to Sodom and Gomorrah. And the cities like them. You see? She wants to fornicate with strange flesh, this white man. You see? And what's going to happen to her? Suffering, vengeance, and eternal fire is going to happen to Candace Owens and her people and her children and that white man. Thus said the Bible. Let's move on. Let's go to Tobit. Right? Beware of all whoredom, my sons, and chiefly take a wife of thy seed, of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife, which is not of thy father's tribe, for we are the children of the prophets. Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even that they all married wives of their own kindred, even though it was other women around, and they were blessed, and their children and their seed shall inherit the land in the end. Same thing. On and on and on. Tobit says the same thing. Said, this is a decree that came down from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, my son, to your fathers from the beginning. You shall marry a wife and a husband of your own kind, so that they shall be blessed and inherit the earth. Who is Candace Owens to say different? Who is Martin Luther King to say different? They overrule Christ. They overrule the Bible. They overrule Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These fake Christians, because they're not talking about the Bible. They speak like the Bible said, when you speak of your own. You speak as a degenerate, whore, colorist, self-hating Negro. You don't speak the words of the Bible. You don't speak for me. You don't speak for the Bible. You don't even speak for Martin Luther King, bitch. Since you brought up civil rights, last one, Matthew. Another quote from Matthew. And before him shall all, I'm going to end on this. This is a good one to end on. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another as a shepherd divide his sheep from the goats. Now, I think that's plain, right? That goes back to what he said before. Now, this is a direct quote from Christ about the end times. So he's saying in the end times, Candace Owens and her white husband going to be separated and her hybrid children. That's what's coming for Candace Owens. The prophecy is what? They're going to be separated and some of them going to be burned. You see, maybe her husband and her kids. And maybe her too, because Candace Owens is a blasphemer. She blasphemes against God, the Bible. She's a hypocrite, a liar, a traitor to her race, a colorist. She want to bleach her skin and bleach her children through having sex with a white man. You see all kinds of sick, degenerate behavior. And then she turn around and project on black people and say, oh, well, if you don't agree with me, you use a what you say, demented person, and you offending white people. Who gives a fuck if you offend white people? Because you say white people who have fucked you over for hundreds of years, and you say, listen, I'm going my own way. I'm going to go over here. I'm not interested. I'm offended. You're offended? I don't give a fuck if you're offended. You had my grandfather in Jim Crow, apartheid, his father and grandfather in slavery, and now you offended? Fuck your feelings. Fuck should I care about your feelings? Genocidal maniac? Fuck should I care about your feelings? A racist, Nazi, genocidal bunch of maniacs? Now your feelings matter? Because Candace Owens says so? So I got to worry about it. Oh, I got to go find me a white woman and my focus, she said, you're the dream of interracial marriage. Who the fuck said civil rights was about the dream to marry white people and have babies by them because you are colorist and you hate your fucking skin when you look in the mirror? And you hate your hair. You a sick individual. Candace Owens is a sick, demented individual, but she's the kind of people they promote in America. You see? Matter of fact, I think I'm going to end on that note. There's nothing more to say about that. I just dismantled her whole argument. You see? That's all I got. Easier as pumpkin pie.